My name is Jerry Sisk. I'm an attorney here with the Law Office of Thomas Mottaz. I've been practicing since 2003 in workers' compensation matters. I used to do defense work, and now I've been doing petitioner's work since approximately 2008-2009. I'm here today to talk about what benefits are covered under Minnesota workers' compensation law. There are essentially four types of benefits. First, including wage loss. Second, permanent partial disability. Third is vocational rehabilitation, and lastly is medical. Under the wage loss piece, there's basically three types. What you have is first, temporary total disability benefits. That's if you're off of work or unable to work, or if the employer is unable to accommodate your restrictions. They'd have to pay you 2/3 of your average weekly wage. We'll talk about average weekly wage at some point later on, but basically they've got to pay that to you. It's payable for at most 130 weeks, or until such time as you go back to work, you no longer have restrictions, or you're at maximum medical improvement. Second type is temporary partial disability benefits. Now, temporary partial disability benefits are paid if you return to work but are earning less because of your injury. There, they've got to pay you 2/3 of the difference between your average weekly wage and the current wages that you're earning. That's payable for at most 225 weeks, up to 450 weeks after your date of injury. The last is permanent and total disability benefits. That's if, based on your age, disability, and transferable skills, there's no work available for you. There are threshold requirements, which we'll talk about, which include that you need to have a certain amount of permanent partial disability. And that permanent partial disability needs to prevent or limit your ability to return to work. In other words, you need to have restrictions associated with that. So then we'll go into the second type. The second type is called permanent partial disability. That's payable for loss of impairment, loss of function. Now, once you've recovered from your injury or gotten to the point of what's referred to as maximum medical improvement, meaning that you've gotten as good as you're going to get, the doctor or physician is going to evaluate you and give you the appropriate permanent partial disability rating. Now, that's based on the Minnesota permanency schedule. So a doctor or physician has to review that and then give you a rating. That rating would equate to a dollar amount based upon a sliding scale. The third type is vocational rehabilitation, and those benefits are through what's called a QRC, a Qualified Rehabilitation Consultant. They act as an intermediary between you, the insurance company, the attorneys, your doctors, and they help to provide vocational assistance. That's including medical management, as well as returning you to work, working with your employer to see if certain accommodations can be made. In the event that you can't go back to work with your employer, then they may also assist with job search, job placement, and in that situation you may also have a job placement specialist assigned to your file. Now, you have the right to choose a QRC, and so it's always important in many situations to find a good QRC, and what I tell people is that you want to talk to someone that you trust, talk to your attorney. I certainly give my recommendations as to what QRCs that I work with and trust. There's plenty of good QRCs out there, but there's also a few that may not be the best suited for your file. In addition to the rehabilitation assistance, there's also a possibility of retraining, and that would be either a 2- or 3-year program where they'd pay for books, tuition, mileage, and wages during that time. It's capped at 156 weeks, most of retraining benefits, and that's something that the insurance company would have to pay if an appropriate retraining plan has been approved. Lastly is medical, and they're going to be responsible for all reasonable, necessary, and cause-related medical treatment. There are limitations under the Minnesota Workers' Compensation Act as to what type of treatment that you would be allowed, but basically it needs to be reasonable, necessary to cure and relieve the effects of the work-related injury. Like I said, there are treatment parameters which cap the frequency, duration, and type of treatment that you're able to receive. So what I always encourage people is that this is kind of a brief summary of what workers' compensation covered. I would certainly encourage that you talk to an attorney. You're welcome to call our office. We're very experienced in workers' compensation matters and would be happy to discuss with you. We'll give you the honest opinions as to whether or not you need a lawyer. Maybe it's just to kind of discuss and to go over things and to determine what benefits that may be available to you based on the facts of your case. If you'd like, you can call us at 421-8226. Thanks for listening.